Okay, so today we're going to speak about music building blocks. And basically, music from a composition and from a production point of view is broken up into four foundational blocks. And today I'm going to explain the purpose and the function of those four blocks before we get into programming and arrangement, so that you can have a deeper understanding of how to look at music and how to view music, because it's all about how you look at it that helps you as a producer to understand what you're doing and to have a better perspective. So the very first foundational block that is in every kind of music is beat. In modern music, beat would be represented by drums or the beats that we have in modern music, like for example R&B, hip hop, house. But you might say to yourself, but there's no beat or there's no drums in orchestral music, for example. But there are percussion instruments and there is some kind of a beat even in orchestral music. So it doesn't matter what kind of music you're listening to, there's always some kind of a beat to a song. And the function of the beat, the first function, is it sets the foundation. You know, music is kind of like these four foundational blocks that I'm going to teach you today are all kind of blocks that are built on top of each other. So the first foundation is beat. And the first thing that beat does is it sets the tempo. Tempo is a critical thing to understand in music because it sets the mood. It's the speed at which the song runs at. The second function of beat is timing. It sets the timing of the song, the speed of the song, the feel of the song. The next function of beat is rhythm. Most of the rhythm of a song is coming from the beat. The beat gives you the feeling of the rhythm of the song. And then the final function of the beat is time signature. So is it a 3/4? Is it a 4/4? And that you will find in the beat. The next key foundational block in music is bass. And bass and beat are like first cousins. They're very closely related, and bass works in conjunction with beat. So bass is usually built on top of the beat. The first function of bass is it reveals the root note. The root note of a song, which is usually the key that the song is in, is very quickly picked up by the bass. And the bass reveals the root note of the song to the listener. The second thing that the bass does is it is a clue to the chord structure. So usually a bass line will follow the chord structure of the song. So even though it's just one note, it'll be the lowest note of that chord structure. It'll reveal the chord of that song. So we won't know immediately if it's a major or a minor, but we'll know which note it is. And for me, when I'm looking for chord structures or trying to understand a chord structure in a song, that's the easiest way to find a chord structure, is to listen to the bass. And then the third function of bass is rhythm again. Just like beat has rhythm, a lot of rhythm can come from the bass. Just like I said before, bass and beat work in tandem. Usually you'll find that the rhythm of the bass and the rhythm of the beat work together. The third foundational block of music is chord. Are you interested in programming your own music, but the complexities of digital audio workstations is holding you back? Meanwhile, all you really want to do is have fun programming bass, drums, chords, and melodies. Well, I've been programming award-winning music for decades. So to help you, I've created a free 4-part music programming crash course, which over 30,000 people have signed up for. So click on the link to get started and get your free videos. The third foundational block of music is chord. Now, every song has a chord element. It doesn't matter what instruments they've used to reveal the chord structures, but there's always a chordal element in a song. And the first function of the chord element in music is to reveal the chord structure. The first thing it does is it reveals the chord structure to the listener. So you can see how this is going. The beat is the foundation. The bass is something that works in collaboration with the beat, starting to bring some melody in through the bass note and revealing the root note and the clue to the chord structure. And then the chordal element is built on top of the bass. So the bass and the chords are also working in tandem from a melodic perspective because the bass is playing the same root notes that is in the chord structure. The next function of the chordal element or chordal foundational block in music is the scale. So the chords will reveal what the scale is. Is it a major? Is it a minor? Is it a blues scale? Is it a pentatonic scale? The next function of the chordal element would be emotion. Now, there is some emotion coming from the beat, there's some emotion coming from the bass, but most of the emotion starts to come in at this point from the chords. The chordal element of a song brings in a lot of feeling. It sets the mood, you could say, the feeling of the song. It's coming from the chord. And that brings us now to the last foundational block in music, and that is melody. Melody is actually the critical and primary focus of the listener. And again, just like everything is built on top of each other, the melody is built on top of the chords. So the chord structure is a clue, it's a foundation, you could say, for the melody to sit on top. The melody will follow the notes, the strong notes that are in the chord. So the melody sits on top of the chord sits on top of the bass, and the bass sits on top of the foundation, which is the beat. Okay, so you might be saying to me now, how come as a listener, when a normal person listens to music, they don't differentiate these four elements? And it goes like this. The listener hears the melody, which is the top element on top of the four elements, and that's the part that they remember. That's the part that we copyright when we go and register the song at our local Composers Association. But what's actually happening is subconsciously, the listener is picking up the time signature from the beat, the tempo. The listener is picking up the root note and the clue to the chord structure from the bass. The listener is subconsciously picking up the chord structure, and then on top of that is the melody which is weaving. It's almost like a production. You have a stage, a set, then you have a story, you have supporting actors, but there's always that lead actor, the star of the show, and that is the melody. And the final function of the melody is emotion. So just like the chordal element brings emotion, so does the melody. As you can see, there's a lot of interplay between these four building blocks. For example, there's a lot of rhythm in beat and bass. They share that in common. When it comes to rhythm, they're in tandem. There's also a connection between the bass and the chord as far as the root note and the chord structure is concerned. And there's also a connection between the chord and the melody as far as emotion is concerned. So as much as they're all kind of separated, they're all kind of joined together at the same time, and they're all built on top of each other. Now, sometimes you'll get a song, and it does happen, like let's say Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. I mean, the famous song, he's got, there's drums, so the drums would be the beat element. There's bass, there's that famous bass line in Another One Bites the Dust. And then we have him singing the melody on top of that. So you could say to me, well, where's the chordal element? Now, what happens there in that situation is we're getting a clue to the chord structure from the bass, and then we're getting the melody on top of that, which is actually sitting on an invisible chordal structure. So just because you can't hear a chordal structure in there, it's there. The mind is making sense of it. The mind is saying, okay, the bass is saying these root notes and these notes, which is giving me a clue to the chord structure, and then the melody is filling in the gaps. And your mind is kind of understanding what the chordal elements are, even though it's not actually being played. Later on in the song, the chords come in with guitars and other instruments, but the mind is able to fill in those gaps. Are you interested in programming your own music, but the complexities of digital audio workstations is holding you back? Meanwhile, all you really want to do is have fun programming bass, drums, chords, and melodies. Well, I've been programming award-winning music for decades. So to help you, I've created a free 4-part music programming crash course, which over 30,000 people have signed up for. So click on the link to get started and get your free videos.
Advanced Music Production.